It's super fun playing on my mom's cell phone.
It's awesome how you can watch videos on
Texting and sharing photos.
It all started with one question: what new phone to get my daughter? I knew what Tessa wanted, a smartphone. I learned that you spend on average 6.5 hours a day looking at screens. As a doctor, I decided I needed to understand the impact of all this screen time on kids. And as a mom, I needed to know what to do.
A young adolescent brain can oscillate back and forth very, very quickly, but it comes at a cost.
I'm so distracted by my phone, so it's hard to listen to a teacher and actually understand what they're saying.
What's extraordinary about the studies on multitasking is even though you're doing worse and worse on everything you're doing, you feel as though you're doing better and better.
Who's there to catch you at home? Your mom? You can outsmart her easily. No offense. Yeah, Mom, it's a really hard math thing.
The game industry has designed these games to become universes where these kids enter and they don't want to come out to do math. Who wants to do math?
When I tried to stop him from playing the games, he turns into another person.
I gamed until like 1 in the morning, and then I gamed 3 in the morning, and then I gamed until 5 in the morning.
Most of the time, he'd be on the computer. It felt like he was in a different world.
I didn't realize how much my sister cared about me.
The thing that matters is not whether you're a good person, it's how you look.
I took a picture of myself and my brother, and I sent it to him. When I got to school, I knew that everyone else knew.
This is one of the most difficult parenting issues we've ever faced. Internet consumption, video game use is very complicated to parent around.
The mistake that parents often make is that they assert their authority without explaining it in a way that makes sense to their child.
When parents tell me not to do something, I'm like, what would happen if I did it? When my parents actually have that deep conversation, it works a lot better.
It's evolution, it's the future, it's too late, I'm addicted. No, it's not too late. The research that shows human resiliency gives me hope.
My friends and I go out to eat. We'll all agree to put our phones in the middle of the table. Whoever checks their phone first has to pay for the meal.
When I study, I turn off the data on my phone, and that way I can't go on the internet and I can't get text messages.
We have to think about everywhere that kids are in the real world and how we can help educate them in those spaces. We can't just say it's on the schools, it's on the parents. We have to do this as a community.
I made Screenagers because I was feeling a lot of stress at home. And shortly, maybe about 4 months after the film came out, I started dealing with a stressful situation at home that was more intense. And that had to do with my daughter, Tessa, who started to have depressive thinking, low motivation, feelings of self-worthlessness. And the days turned into weeks, turned into months. And I was feeling such pain. And when she would go onto a screen, I was so concerned. Was it helping her, hurting? And I was really shocked about how unprepared I felt for handling this. I had been making mental health documentaries for over a decade, become a mental health advocate, speaking internationally, made a film about my father with serious mental illness. And on top of that, I've been a practicing primary care physician for 25 years, helping many people, including young adults and even some teens, with a myriad of mental health problems. And so when I thought about, wow, how hard this is for me, I thought about what can we do as a society to better help teens in all settings. And that set me on a journey, which to me felt so important, because it turns out there's no other time in life when the prevalence of mental health problems is greater than in adolescence. By the time that teens are 18, for example, 30% of them will meet clinical definition of a mental health disorder. And now, if you ask teenage girls doing surveys about depression, 19% of them will meet criteria for a major depressive episode in the past 12 months. The thing is that this is not new. In fact, death by suicide for teenage boys was higher in the early 90s than it is today. But what's been happening is that we as a society have ignored this issue. For example, as parents, we're just told, well, it's moodiness. There's this myth about just this is developmentally, they're going to have these hard emotions. Fortunately, that is partly true for so many teens. But unfortunately, it's not true for many others that don't get interventions that could really help them through these times. It's the greatest time, and that I want to say why the tech revolution is a time now, because we've been ignoring it, like I said. Also, schools have been ignoring this fact. It turns out that only 2 states in the country require schools to teach mental health. Do you guys believe it? And that just passed last year, those 2 states, and Washington is not one of them. So we've been ignoring this, and what I think is super interesting now is that I've learned, are at a unique moment of time where we could stop ignoring this. And that's the tech revolution. And I want to say why I think that this is a unique time. First of all, rates of mental health problems are increasing in certain populations of our teens, particularly since 2011. For example, death by suicide for teens girls is at the highest rate in 40 years since they've started measuring it, that we've measured over this 40 years. And that's really concerning. And we know that when girls are on social media at a really high rate and not having face-to-face time, their risk of depressive thinking is much higher. The other thing that's unique about this moment of time is that we know that teens go online now for all sorts of information. Rather than being intentional about what information they're getting, they're going online, and in fact, 90% of kids with depression go online for this information. What kind of information are we getting? And thirdly, I have never seen this level of concern by society about teen mental health in ever. I mean, I'm 3 years now that I'm out in the world speaking about Screenagers. More and more parents are coming to me worried about the mental health of their kids and their lack of knowing what to do. Here's the really exciting news, is that we have strong evidence of all sorts of skills that we can teach our teens that helps improve their mental health. Evidence-based interventions and skills that we can be teaching. For example, emotion agility, such as reframing a situation. When teens think, oh my gosh, that person didn't talk to me in the hall because I'm worthless, helping them to reframe that to think, well, maybe they were just busy. Communication science, specific ways that we can communicate that increases the chance for deeper relationships and being able to handle the hard emotions that come with asking for help. These are the kind of skills and many other that led me to create a new documentary that I'm finishing now and will be launched in the fall, all about solutions in terms of helping teens with their mental health. And the film follows my journey with Tessa as she learns skills, and frankly, as I learn them, as her mental health improves. But it also goes into homes and families across the country, looking at stories with teens who have everyday stress issues to those who are dealing with more difficult mental health challenges. And what's really exciting is that there are so many interventions that can be done. I'm convinced that we can and we will step it up as a society and empower all teens with the tools that will profoundly improve their mental health. Thank you so much.